Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending at what time you're watching this episode, and welcome back to Data-Driven Formula One. My name is Patrick Henz, and today we have another of the solo episodes. Normally, Gunnar Bogrevna and I am doing this jointly, but sometimes we add some episodes which I'm hosting alone. These are normally topics, smaller topics, where I dig a little bit deeper into a topic. And today we have the last of our prequels, so to call, where we analyze 1946, where we had the first race organized under Formula One regulations until 49, what we have today. So where we have already regulations regarding Formula One in place, but not yet the championship that we will only have next year in 2050. So welcome back to the prequels, and let's start. Just for you as a reminder, FIA's Formula One motor racing entered its fourth season now, although some Grand Prix events still follow different racing formulas. While there was no organized championship in 49, same as in 46, 47, 48, several prestigious races were acknowledged by the FIA as grandes épreuves, great trials, and this maybe have been the base which should form next year the Formula One championship. So now we are the year before Formula One, and that's what it's quite interesting. And there also had been a big surprise saying Alfa Romeo temporarily decided not participate in motorsports. This after they had been the last 3 years really the dominating brand, dominating car. But again, and we will come to this later, in 49 they not participated, which allowed other cars, drivers, brands to shine. The mentioned Grandes Épreuves have been five this year. We have the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, Belgium Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, Swiss Grand Prix in Bremgarten, French Grand Prix Reims-Gray, and the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. So already we have here some tracks, in fact three, which are still part of modern Formula One: Silverstone, Spa-Francorchamps, and Monza. Alfa Romeo decided to skip this season, and this, you may imagine, had financial issues. Alfa Romeo as a company had been struggling. They still had been involved in engines for plane, so manufacturing plane engine, and exactly this business had been struggling. They had in the process to outsource this, but this meant they had to focus its budget, its resources really on restructuring, surviving, and this had been the reason why they decided to temporarily skip this season after they had been really the dominating car the last years. And spoiler alert, they will be dominating again next year in 1915, but 1949, no walks Alfa Romeos in the races. Most successful drivers had been Alberto Ascari and Juan Manuel Fangio, both with five victories. Nevertheless, Ascari won two Grand Prix, so he would be something as the non-official world champion of 49. Interesting. Again, you have to consider we are only a few years after the end of World War II, and the successful drivers we see are the ones who already had been drivers, successful drivers before World War II. So there are no young talents yet, maybe with the exception of Juan Manuel Fangio. As Argentinian, he was a little bit outside the wars, luckily for him. And also he was supported by the actual Argentinian president, and we discussed this a little bit deeper in the last episode, 1948. Argentinian government wanted to use motorsports to show the progress Argentina is doing as a country, quite similar than various governments in Europe did before and inside World War II. So we had 1949 still three non-official Grand Prix in Argentina. First, el Gran Premio del General Juan Perón y de la Ciudad de Buenos Aires. Juan Perón had been general and also a president. Then we had the Grand Prix of his wife, Eva, el Gran Premio Eva Duarte de Perón y Vita, as mostly known outside Argentina. And some months later, we return to Buenos Aires, el Gran Premio del General Juan Perón y la Ciudad de Buenos Aires. And here, on this last of the three Argentinian Grand Prix, I want to focus a little bit to show you how important this was also for the European brands to present themselves in Latin America, in South America, to the local people, but also the tourists which maybe came in from the US and Canada, as the Europe was still not built up again to be an interesting tourist location for North American tourists. Important here, the fourth positions had been Ferrari 166 FL, victory for Alberto Ascari, then the mentioned Juan Manuel Fangio, which we see also in the photo, Luigi Villarosi and Benedicto Campos as the local driver. So we see slowly the rise of Ferrari as a successful brand manufacturer in motorsports. And this 166 FL had been a special version of the 166 car built based on Formula 2 regulations. They adapted it to the popular race series in South America, and which was called Formula Libre in Espanol, in English translated free formula, so a little bit different to Formula 2, but still quite similar. And this, what you see here is the Ferrari of the team Equipo Argentina. Equipo Argentino means the Argentinian team with Argentinian drivers supported by Argentinian government. I show you here a little bit the model in the camera. I hope you can see it. So really beautiful car, and I think it still exists today. At least I saw this car in classic race events. Not completely sure if this is still the original or replica, but I think it's an original. As mentioned, Alfa Romeo was not participating this year officially, but of course, some privateers had been using Alfa Romeo race cars. In this particular race event in Buenos Aires, we had two older ones, the Alfa Romeo 12C used by Clema Bucci, and Oscar Alfredo Galvez had been participating with an Alfa Romeo 308. Older models, but nevertheless very beautiful designs, as you can see here on the photos. But lastima, pity, they not saw the finish of the race. Both had been retired due to technical difficulties. Maserati had a different approach than Alfa Romeo in the past. They not had been participating with a works team, but they sold their cars to the privateers. And you see here a list of the cars which had been participated at this last Argentinian Grand Prix. You see a big list of cars and very well-known drivers as Fräulein González, who would later achieved the first victory for Ferrari in an official championship race. Prince Bira, Emanuele de Grafenried, Clemente Biondetti, Luis Gion, Felipe Etancin, Eitel Cantoni, Piero Taruffi, Nino Farina, Piero Carini, Pascal Popolo, Rec Panel, Felice Bonetto, and officially participating but not able to start due to technical difficulties, I think, Manfred von Brauchitsch, a name which may sound familiar to some of you, at least if you know really pre-World War racing, because he was one of the famous drivers of the Mercedes Silver Arrows in the 1930s. Very fast driver, but when it was needed, lacking a little bit luck, and maybe the skills to really to win a championship, but mostly it was problems with technical difficulties. So in 35 he finished on the third position, 37 second, and 38 second. In in times of World War II, there had been no international races, but he participated, had been a member of the German racing organization, racing committee, or similar as it was called. So he was not directly part of the army, but he somehow, you may say, he collaborated with the regime. And he, of course, difficult to say for us now, living many, many years after this regime, how difficult it would have been to not collaborate, how it would be his personal risks. But uh, nevertheless, I mean, he collaborated, and due to this, it was not that easy for him to find new purpose after World War II. So he tried to immigrate to Argentina, but couldn't fit in. He came back and he came back to East Germany, the communist part. Also here, he seems not to get happy. Then, luckily for him, he could immigrate to Western Germany, but then he was involved in spy case, and there it seems that he was spying for Eastern Germany, became had been encastled, went into prison in West Germany for a while, then had been moved to East Germany again, and where he is lived on until his death, but sometimes then got the permission to travel to Western Germany, what was not allowed for normal citizens. This to participate, for example, in classic racing events. So this a little bit the background to Manfred von Brauchitsch. I'm not too deep into his biography, just wanted to give you a background, as it is, of course, a very famous name, which we saw here on the official starters list at the third Argentinian Grand Prix, but due to reasons could not make it to the start. I would assume technical reasons. As you can see, he wanted to start with a Maserati 8CL, which was at that time already a very old model. So I assume he didn't had much budget. Of course, you may say Argentina, a lot of Nazis went to Argentinas, the typical cliche. Of course, we had this immigration after World War II, but we also had immigration before World War II, meaning Germans uh, escaping the incoming Nazi regime, fled to Argentina to immigrate, the same as to Brazil, Chile, etc. So, and also, of course, we have a big Jewish population in Argentina. So it's not just this cliche that people after World War II immigrated to Argentina already before World War II and before Germans and other Europeans immigrated to Argentina, and this also sometimes fleeing for this regime. With this, let's delve into the great trails, the five main events, starting with Silverstone, May 14. We have a victory of Emmanuel de Graffenried, the French driver with the Maserati 4CLT, the 48 version, Bob Gerard with the British ERA Type B, and Luis Rosier on the Talbot Lago T26C. So, as Alfa Romeo normally had been on the first one, two, three, four positions. We never saw these brands cars that much on the podium, but now this year their opportunity. Also, I want to mention the 19th position, Raymond Mays with a Sinwall Special Ferrari. Sinwall or Vanwall, also known, had the strategy first to start as a small private team buying Ferrari cars, but updating them using parts from their own manufacturing, their own factory. So that's why it's not a normal Ferrari, what was it, the 125, but it was updated, changed with by Sinwall. That's why they called the cars the special Ferrari. And later, this experience they used to participate at the official the official Formula One championship, and 1 year could win this championship as practically an all British team. If you're interested, we have a special episode about Vanwall. Then Spa-Francorchamps, June 19. Again, we see Louis Rosier, this time on top with the Talbot Lago. Then Luigi Villarossi, Ferrari 125, and Alberto Ascari, Ferrari 125. So slowly, what started last year, Ferrari on the rise, becoming a stronghold in motorsports in general, including Formula One. Swiss Grand Prix, Bremgarten, now victory for Ferrari with Alberto Ascari, later two-time world championship, also with Ferrari. Luigi Villarossi, his teammate, and Raymond Sommer, Talbot Lago T26C. No surprise having a French driver with a, sorry, he's not a French driver, he was born in Monaco, same as Charles Leclerc, so not a French driver, even if the name is French, speaking French, but he is from Monaco, but driving a French car, the Talbot Lago T26C. Then we have Prince Bira, Maserati, and Peter Whitehead with the Ferrari 125. Final of the great trials. As we see also later a lot in the official Formula One Championship final in Italy, Monza, now on September 11, 1949. Another victory for Ferrari, Alberto Ascari. Then we see French driver Philippe Intercelin with the Talbot Lago, and Prince Bira with the Maserati for CLT. So these are the drivers winning, but let's have also a look on the cars, because very beautiful designs. And Ghana and I always recommend you, if you have the possibility, read books, biographies, or other interesting books about the time, but also if you are near, go to one of the museums. If you are, for example, in North Italy, if you are Emilia-Romagna, Modena, there are a lot of car museums. We have the two Ferrari museums, Maserati Museum, the official one. We have the non-official Maserati Museum, and also some more, I think Lamborghini, Ducati. So you can practically stay 1 week and to see the different car and motorcycle museums. So here, Maserati, the 4 CLT. This is the most actual one, raced in 49. Older one, Maserati 4 CM, still good for gentlemen drivers who want to have the pleasure to compete, to participate. And of course, it was needed to fill the races because there hadn't been too much cars designed based on Formula One regulations. And nice to see these cars, of course, live again. We are only a few years after end of World War II, and people had been hungry for entertainment. So this is the Maserati 4 CM, officially originally from the year 1933, but still racing. Similar valid for the Maserati 4 CL, originally designed in 1939, but still active. First designed as a Formula 2 car and then updated in 46 to Formula 1 regulations. Talbot Lago T26C from the year 1948 and produced until 1950. A car which looks a little bit like the Alfa Romeo 158, the Alfetta, but never had been on the same level as this mentioned car. But nevertheless, very beautiful and this year quite successful. As mentioned, Ferrari establishing itself as a stronghold in motorsports, the 125 F1, and then back to France, Simca Gordini, Gordini, Simca, part of Renault later. Originally designed in 44, but produced until 53, and this is the G11. And also sometimes you see quite unique cars, as in one of the races we had one participant with the French Delahaye 135, a car from the 1930s. And of course, it was not possible to compete for points, for victories with this car, but it qualified you to participate at one of the Grand Trials. And of course, I'm sure the spectators at the racetrack really appreciated also to see these exotic cars, even though they not had been competitive. People, we will not speak that much again, as we all have here the well-known names: Luigi Villarossi, Prince Bira, Alberto Ascari. As said, all these men already learned driving fast before World War II, as we lost the war years as young men and sometimes women couldn't start racings as they had to fight or defend their houses. So we lost a lot of time where the young talents would have come in. And due to this, we have these routineers, relatively high age if you compare it to today. But also you have to think that races, even though it have been organized under Formula One regulations, have been completely different, much longer, different cars, different tracks. So honestly not really comparable to 2024 Formula One. Then Giuseppe Farina, Luis Rion, you see both men already over 40 and still very competitive. Okay, that's practically all for us. Why was 49 important? Because as you can imagine, it was the year before we officially started with the Formula One Constructors Championship. Sorry, with the official championship, officially only titles for the drivers. There had not been a title for the manufacturer at that year. This would only come later. So of course, it was needed to prepare logistics of the racetracks, bringing racetracks on the level you need for the official Formula One Championship. The teams have to adapt, the manufacturers have to adapt. Even though Alfa Romeo not participated and would dominate 1950, 1951 with their pre-war cars, never. So that's a little bit contra my thesis here, but nevertheless, it was the year before the end of the prequels. So finally, next year we would start with the official championship. If you are not following this podcast since the beginning, we started with the 1950 championship. So if you are interested how the story continues, just scroll down our episodes, and right at the beginning, you will see episode 1950. Then we speak in a special about Giuseppe Farina, 51, special Juan Manuel Fangio, Alberto Ascari. So we really will cover on deep the early years of Formula One racing. You find us on YouTube. This is a little bit our base. Also, we are on YouTube Music and Spotify as a video podcast. On all other platforms, we are audio only. If you are into music, please check out at Spotify the data-driven mixtape where we have music directly inspired by the various drivers and Formula One in general. Okay, that's all from my side for today. Hope to see you the next time and maybe see you again together with Ganna Pogrevna to our regular episode. And until then, see you. And if you like it, please subscribe, please like. It's always highly appreciated by us. Bye bye.